Decidophobia, the fear of making decisions. Imagine this. Every day your brain makes about 35,000 decisions, from choosing what to wear to life-changing moments. But what if I told you that for 1 in 5 people, even a simple choice at a restaurant becomes a real ordeal? Meet decidophobia, not just indecisiveness, but a genuine fear that can paralyze a person's life. Recently, a young woman from Chicago reached out to me who couldn't decide on an apartment to rent for 3 whole years. 3 years. She reviewed hundreds of options, created spreadsheets, analyzed every square foot, but never made a choice. Now honestly ask yourself, how many important decisions are you postponing right now? Changing jobs, moving, relationships? Today, we'll explore why our brain sometimes prefers painful uncertainty over any choice. It's crucial to understand this isn't just, I'm a bit indecisive. It's a state where the very thought of needing to choose triggers a real anxiety reaction in the brain. Heart races, palms sweat, and it feels like any choice might lead to disaster. Here's the fascinating part. Studies show that people with pronounced decidophobia have an overactive amygdala and reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex. In other words, their security system works at full tilt, while the analytical department is barely breathing. Welcome to Mind Hack. Today we're talking about something that affects absolutely everyone. The fear of making decisions, or scientifically speaking, decidophobia. It's important to understand right away, this isn't just, I'm somewhat indecisive. This is a condition where the mere thought of having to make a choice triggers a genuine anxiety response in the brain. Pulse quickens, palms sweat, and there's a feeling that any choice will lead to catastrophe. Why is this so important? Because the inability to make decisions literally stops life in its tracks. People spend years at jobs they hate, in toxic relationships, in cities that don't suit them. Not because they like it, but because change requires decisions, and decisions trigger panic. Today, we'll take an amazing journey through the maze of your brain. First, we'll peek into neurobiology. We'll learn which specific brain regions are responsible for decision-making, and why they sometimes freeze like a computer with a virus. Then we'll explore where the roots of this fear come from evolutionary mechanisms to childhood trauma. Next, we'll look at how decidophobia manifests in our digital world, where every app offers a million choices. And most importantly, I'll give you specific, scientifically backed tools that will help transform fear of choice into confident action. Ready to understand what's happening in your head? Let's go! Part 1. The neurobiology of decision-making. Imagine your brain is a large corporation. It has different departments, each responsible for its own task. When you need to make a decision, a real meeting begins between these departments. And sometimes, a real war. The headquarters of this corporation is located in the prefrontal cortex. This is the most human part of our brain, what distinguishes us from animals. This is where option analysis happens, consequence calculation, weighing pros and cons. When you think, what will happen if I choose this? It's the prefrontal cortex working. But there's one problem. This department works slowly and requires a lot of energy. The brain consumes about 20% of the body's total energy per day, and the prefrontal cortex eats up most of it. The brain is always looking for ways to save energy. Now imagine that in the basement of this corporation sits a very anxious security guard. This is the amygdala, an ancient structure responsible for survival. Its job is to scan the environment for danger, and you know what? For the amygdala, uncertainty is always potential danger. When you're faced with a choice, the amygdala starts signaling, careful, unknown territory, could be dangerous. It triggers a stress response. Cortisol is released, pulse quickens, muscles tense. At this moment, the prefrontal cortex starts working worse. It's like trying to solve a math problem while a fire alarm is blaring nearby. There's another participant in this process, the anterior cingulate cortex. It works like a conflict detector. When you have two equally attractive options, this brain region literally screams, attention, conflict, can't determine what's better. And the more complex the choice, the louder the scream. Now let's add the dopamine system, our internal motivation system. Dopamine isn't released when we get a reward, but when we expect it. But if the outcome is uncertain, if we don't know whether we'll get what we want, the dopamine system can simply shut down, and then all motivation to do anything disappears. So here's what happens. The prefrontal cortex tries to analyze. The amygdala screams about danger. The anterior cingulate cortex signals conflict, and the dopamine system stays silent. No wonder many people in this situation prefer to make no decision at all. But here's what's interesting. Research shows that people with pronounced decidophobia have a hyperactive amygdala and reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex. That is, their security service works at maximum capacity while their analytical department barely functions. The good news is that this can be changed. The brain is plastic, and neural connections can be restructured. But first, let's understand where this fear of choice comes from in the first place. Part 2. The roots of decidophobia. To understand where the fear of decisions comes from, we need to look into the past. Not just your personal past, but the past of all humanity. Let's start with evolution. Imagine our ancestors 10,000 years ago. They lived in a world where the wrong decision could cost their life. Go this way or that way? Stay in the cave or look for a new place? Trust a stranger or not? A mistake often meant death. In such a situation, the brain developed a simple strategy. Better to do nothing than to do something wrong. This is called evolutionary status quo bias. Our brain is literally programmed to consider changes potentially dangerous. Of course, now we're not running from predators, but the amygdala doesn't know this. For it, choosing a new job can feel as dangerous as choosing a path in an unfamiliar forest did for primitive humans. Now let's add childhood experience. Remember how as a child you were criticized for wrong decisions? Why did you choose that toy? You should have taken this one. You dressed wrong. You're friends with the wrong kids. Each such phrase forms a connection in the child's brain. My choice equals possible criticism equals danger. This is especially traumatic for highly sensitive children. They remember every criticism, every parental disappointment, and eventually come to the conclusion, it's better not to choose at all than to choose wrong. Now imagine a perfectionist child. For them, there are only two options: the perfect decision or catastrophe. There are no intermediate options. But perfect decisions don't exist in real life. So such a person can spend years looking for the right choice that's impossible to find. Now the situation has become even more complicated. We live in an era of infinite choice. Go into any store, there are hundreds of types of yogurt. Open a dating app, thousands of potential partners. Check a job search website, millions of vacancies. Psychologists call this the paradox of choice, or the tyranny of small decisions. The more options we have, the harder it is to choose, and the more we regret the choice we made. Because there's always the thought, what if that option would have been better? Social media makes the problem worse. We constantly see the perfect lives of others. It seems like everyone around us makes only right decisions. travels to beautiful places, builds successful careers, creates happy families. Against this backdrop, any choice we make seems not good enough. Add to this information overload. For any decision, we can find mountains of information on the internet. Reviews, ratings, comparisons, expert advice. And the more we study, the more confusing the situation becomes. Analysis paralyzes action. This is how decidophobia forms. Evolutionary fears plus childhood trauma plus perfectionism plus choice overload plus social pressure plus information overload. No wonder the brain at some point just gives up and says, I won't decide anything. But how does this look in real life? Let's examine specific manifestations. Part 3. Manifestations in the modern world. Decidophobia in the 21st century takes particularly sophisticated forms. It disguises itself as rationality, hides behind thorough analysis, and a balanced approach. But essentially, it's still the same ancient fear of uncertainty. The most common manifestation is procrastination of decision-making. A person tells themselves, I need more information. It's not time yet. I'll wait for a more favorable moment. But actually, they're just afraid to choose. Sound familiar? A woman from Portland spends 3 years studying apartment rental options. She creates Excel spreadsheets, compares neighborhoods, calculates optimal price-to-quality ratios. She has a folder with hundreds of saved listings, but there's no decision. Because you can always find another criterion to analyze, another factor to consider. Or here's another example. A man from Denver thinks about changing careers for 5 years. He reads articles, takes career orientation tests, studies the job market, consults with friends. He's become an expert in career planning, but he still works at the same place that doesn't satisfy him. In the digital age, new forms of decidophobia have appeared. People spend hours scrolling through food delivery apps, can't choose a movie on Netflix, spend weeks searching for the perfect smartphone. Endless scrolling has turned into endless postponement of choice. Social media creates the illusion that we have unlimited possibilities. Every day we see success stories, beautiful travels, happy relationships. And we start thinking, what if I choose wrong? What if I miss a better option? This is called FOMO, fear of missing out. This is especially vivid in relationships. Dating apps offer an endless catalog of potential partners. And a person thinks, what if there's someone better out there? What if I settle for this one and tomorrow I find the perfect match? As a result, people spend years searching but never choosing anyone. Physical manifestations of decidophobia have also become more sophisticated. Previously, it was just anxiety. Now there are digital symptoms: compulsive Googling, endless review comparisons, paralysis from information overload. A person might spend 10 hours choosing headphones for $300, but can't spend an hour thinking about changing jobs that would bring an extra $5,000 a month. Because for choosing headphones, there are clear criteria and reviews, but for life decisions, only uncertainty. There's also delegation of decisions to algorithms. Let Google Maps build the route. Let Netflix suggest a movie. Let the app choose a restaurant. We shift choice to artificial intelligence because we fear responsibility for our own decisions. Another modern manifestation is creating the illusion of choice through micro-decisions. A person can't decide whether to change jobs, but spends hours choosing a phone case color. The brain gets a false sense of control from making small decisions while avoiding important ones. Social consequences are serious too. People with decidophobia often become dependent on others' opinions. They constantly ask for advice, seek approval, shift responsibility. What would you do in my place is their favorite phrase. But the saddest thing is that fear of choice deprives people of their own life. They exist in waiting mode, in the state of as soon as I decide. Life passes in preparation for living. Part 4. Neuroplasticity and brain training. Now for the good news. Your brain isn't a life sentence. It's plastic like clay and can change at any age. Every time you make a decision, you literally restructure neural connections. And the more often you do this, the easier the next time becomes. Imagine that neural pathways in the brain are like trails in a forest. The trail of fear and decision avoidance has become a wide paved road for many people. Thoughts race down it at high speed. What if I'm wrong? What if it goes badly? Better wait a bit more. But the trail of confident decision-making is overgrown with grass and barely visible. But every time you consciously walk down it, make a decision despite fear, you clear it. Make it wider and more convenient. Neurobiologists have discovered something amazing. The brain doesn't distinguish between real and imagined actions. When you mentally visualize making a decision, the same brain areas activate as during real choice. This means you can train confidence even in imagination. But you need to start small. If someone fears making serious decisions, it's useless to immediately force them to choose a new career. It's like trying to lift 200 pounds when your maximum is 20. Decision muscles also need to be built gradually. So start with micro decisions. Today at a cafe, don't study the menu for 10 minutes. Choose the first thing that looks appetizing. Walking through a store, don't compare 5 types of milk. Take any. Your brain will remember, I made a decision and nothing terrible happened. It's important to understand the goal isn't to make perfect decisions. The goal is to learn to make good enough decisions quickly. Because in real life, the best decision is one that's made on time. There's a wonderful technique called the 2-minute rule. If a decision can be made in 2 minutes, make it immediately. Don't postpone, don't analyze, don't look for additional information. Just choose. Another powerful tool is limiting thinking time. Give yourself a specific deadline. By Sunday, I'll decide whether to vacation in Mexico or Costa Rica. And when time runs out, choose from available options. Even if the decision isn't ideal, it's better than no decision. Physical exercise also helps. When you exercise, the brain produces a special protein, neurotrophic factor. It stimulates the growth of new neural connections. So a jog not only strengthens the body, but makes the brain more flexible for decision-making. Meditation works even better. Just 10 minutes of mindfulness daily strengthens the prefrontal cortex and calms the amygdala. It's like a gym for the brain regions responsible for reasonable decisions. Keep a decision diary. Write down what choices you made and what they led to. After a month, you'll discover something amazing. Most of your decisions led to normal results. Not ideal, but not catastrophic. Normal. And this reduces catastrophic thinking. Remember, every decision made is a small victory over fear. And with each victory, the next one becomes easier. Part 5. Practical strategies. Theory is good, but let's move to specific tools you can apply today. I'll give you 5 techniques that are proven in practice and scientifically sound. First technique, decision matrix. Take a sheet of paper, divide it into 4 columns. In the first, write all options. In the second, pros of each option in the 3rd century. In the fourth, importance weight coefficient from 1 to 10. For example, choosing between 2 jobs. Option A, high salary plus 10, but long commute minus 7. Option B, Interesting tasks +9, but lower salary -5. Sum up weighted scores and get an objective picture. This technique solves a main brain problem in decision making. It structures chaos. Instead of thoughts bouncing around like balls in a lottery drum, you get a clear analysis scheme. Second technique, 10-10-10 rule. Before making a decision, ask yourself, how will I feel in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? This helps evaluate the decision in perspective and not get stuck on short-term fears. Often we fear things that will be insignificant in a month and ignore what will be important in years. This technique brings common sense back to the choice process. Third technique, worst-case scenario. Say out loud the worst outcome of your decision, in detail, specifically, without minimizing. Now honestly answer, is this really a catastrophe or just an inconvenience? For example, afraid to change jobs because what if it doesn't work out? Worst scenario, it doesn't work out. You quit after 6 months, spend time looking for a new job. It's unpleasant, but not fatal. Now compare with the cost of inaction, years at a job you hate. Fourth technique, best friend advice. Imagine your best friend is in exactly the same situation and asks for advice. What would you tell them? Usually we give others more reasonable and bold advice than we give ourselves. This happens because for other people we automatically focus on opportunities, but for ourselves, on risks. This technique helps look at the situation objectively. Fifth technique, 5-second rule. As soon as you realize you need to make a decision, count from 5 to 1 and act. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I choose. Don't give your brain time to launch fear and doubt programs. This technique is especially effective for simple decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which route to choose. It trains the quick response muscle. Another important principle, create a support system. Find someone you trust and agree on mutual help in decision-making. Not so they decide for you, but to help structure thoughts and support you in moments of doubt. And final advice, start right now. Don't postpone applying these techniques until tomorrow. Choose one small decision you've been postponing and make it within the next 10 minutes. Your brain needs to get its first experience of victory over choice fear today. Conclusion. So, we've taken an amazing journey through the labyrinths of your brain. We learned that decidophobia isn't a character weakness, but a feature of how the nervous system works. Understanding the mechanisms is already half the solution to the problem. The main insight from today's conversation, your brain can be reprogrammed. Every decision made strengthens neural pathways of confidence. Every choice made despite fear makes the next choice easier. Remember, perfect decisions don't exist. Only decisions that are good enough to move forward exist. The best decision is one made on time, not one that's perfectly thought through. Fear of mistakes paralyzes us more than the mistakes themselves. But mistakes aren't failures, they're information. Every mistake makes you wiser and more experienced in making future decisions. Now, here's a specific task. Right now, without turning off the video, remember one decision you've been postponing. Share this video with someone who also struggles with indecisiveness. Sometimes knowing you're not alone with such a problem already makes it easier to solve. Subscribe to MindHack channel. There are many more explorations ahead of how our amazing brain works. In the next video, we'll talk about procrastination, why we postpone important tasks, and how to overcome it. Remember, every decision is not only a choice of path, but brain training for future challenges. Your confidence grows every day. See you soon.